with and what leadership actually means at an individual level, at the county level, and at the national level. Yep.
Wow. So you're casting your net wide in terms of women and leadership. That's what you say.
Yes.
Wow. Now, I want to shift a bit, and I also understand that Karen is a successful woman, and having been recognized by the former U.S. President Barack Obama, and she's known globally, basically.
Yep.
What sets such people apart? Not really to narrow down on Karen. I was just using her as an example. What sets such ladies apart? Because we know right now there's so many things that ladies are doing to be on top, to be seen. You have the slay queens and what have you. What really sets such people apart so that they can be called out amongst the crowd, yet we don't have the scandal? So what sets them apart?
Right, that's a good question. So I think it's a very critical conversation, and most of our young women are really relying towards the fast-paced life, and I wouldn't blame them, right? They are partly to blame, but I wouldn't blame them. I hope we'll get a chance to talk about what actually causes them to go in that line. But just to answer your question, I'd say staying true to yourself, managing your expectations, and not just following misleading expectations. Let me define what I mean. By managing your expectations, it is both at the individual level and at the societal level. So, and I know a lot of us guys, because I'm also in that generation, we do not appreciate delayed gratification, and I think that's something we really need to change as a generation. Delayed gratification in the sense that, I won't lie to you, Collins, right now, this moment, I want a BMW or an Audi Q5, a white one. But does that mean that I have to do anything and everything to get it? Will I get it at some point? Yes. When I get it, I feel like it will be sweeter because it's a process and it's my own money. And so just appreciating the process and just appreciating delayed gratification. That is one. Number two, I feel like there's such huge moral decay, and we have to start talking about it. There's a very thin line between what is right and what is wrong in our generation. And it is even sad that we have chosen to live with it. There's no conscience. The moral thermometer or the moral meter doesn't exist anymore. And I feel like there's also a place for the church. In as much as we are talking and telling people about heaven, which is a good thing, we all want to go to heaven, but it is such a critical space that we can talk about the real life situations that young people are actually going through. We're seeing suicides, we're seeing very disturbing killings left, right, and center, and that shows you that there's a need in the society, and people are suffering. Young people, we're living in hard economic times, mental health. But yeah, so it's a space I really feel like the church can actually come in and talk about the present in as much as we're talking about the future and address these issues as we are facing them now. So yeah, just the moral decay, but also just managing your expectations, delayed gratification, and appreciating the process. There's a quote I read today in the morning. It was saying, I'm a believer by the way, it was saying God strengthens you before he makes you happy. It's debatable, yes, but just understanding that every chapter is a process, and you can't, I mean, it's about time we all understood that the world, the universe does not owe you anything. So this fast sort of paced lifestyle, it won't lead people anywhere, and that's why we are seeing a lot of young women, very talented, just falling down the drill. Yeah.
Wow. So there's the issue of wanting instant gratification and also the moral decay.
The moral decay.
There's a very thin line between what is right and what is wrong.
Very. If I could also add,
yes,
to just not entirely blame these young women. I mean, I think it's a societal problem. The individualism thinking, in the sense that for me to offer you something, you need to offer me something in return, right? So as an older person, as the CEO of some, I don't know, company, for me to give you a job. I mean, I don't just have the heart to mentor you for you to get to where I am, but it's nipe nikupe, right? And I feel like that is very wrong. So in as much as we are blaming these young women, it's something that we all need to check amongst ourselves. Yeah, it doesn't have to be, you have to give me something for me to give you. We just really need to go back to the communal sort of thinking and mentorship, just the goodwill just within the society, right?
Wow. So if you're watching us right now and you just tuned in, you're wondering who's this in studio. Actually, we have Miriam, and she's talking about girls and empowerment and the road to success. It's very bumpy, by the way. There's a lot of moral decay, and there's the quest for instant gratification. When she says, you may get it, but it won't last long. There's a place of the church as well. And there's so many other things that you need to put into consideration. So young girl out there, young lady watching us right now, take this into consideration. She's been there outside world. She might not have done those things, but she's successful by all standards. Will not give details. So in just 2 minutes, I want to, before we take a short break, cool. I want to look at, there's this young girl maybe watching you right now, and they're like, I've done everything, and it's not working, you know?
Yeah.
So I know you have so many points on this, but just one point. What is one of those things that she can opt for?
One of those things she can opt for.
I know when you come back, the second bit of the show, we're going to talk more on that, but just before you're going to break.
Right. So let me say two things. I know you said one, but two things. Yes. I won't expound. Let me first tackle the employment sector. Of course, I haven't made it to where I want to make it, but I'm a young person and I've been there. So I always tell people, young girls I mentor, create networks before you send that resume. Volunteer somewhere before you send that resume. I know it's a cliche, but as easy as it sounds, it works. It honestly does. So the next one will take a bit of time, so we can go on break and then we'll come expound on that.
Now, when your guest takes you on a break, you have no option but to go on a break. So, ladies and gentlemen, see you on the other side of the show. We'll be right back.
Do you have a clue on what young people need?
The young people need, on one hand, a friend, but then on the other hand, someone who is firm.
They may look like nothing much is coming out of them, but let me tell you something. Transformation and change is taking place.
One of my most memorable times is a young lady who walked into my office and told me, Pastor, I need you to help me. And I don't want to get saved, and I don't have demons, so please don't do that stuff on me. I am pregnant.
Wow.
And I want you to talk to my boyfriend.
Pastoring young people, that's our subject for tonight. And we have Pastor and Apostle Charles all the way from Egerton.
The future is in the youth. So they come to you useless, they don't have money, they come with weird stories, but invest in those young people.
Welcome back to the second bit of this show. Today we are talking about girls' empowerment and the road to success. And with us is Miriam Beatrice from Emerging Leadership Foundation. She's one of the most successful women I know around in the city, and she's done well for herself. But as I said, we won't get into details. So today we just wanted to help us understand how do you become successful minus engaging in these immoral acts, minus having a sponsor and doing all these sorts of things. And just before we enter the break, she was saying you need to create a network, you need to volunteer before you send that resume or that CV, as most people call it. Network. And how do you do that? Just go somewhere and volunteer. It helps build your resume. So let's take it up from there.
Right.
Yes.
Also, just identifying what areas set you apart. So much as the skills we get in college, in universities are important, what else do you have on the side? And with this, I'm talking about soft skills, which is something we actually offer at Emerging Leaders Foundation. So how do you do a proper CV? How do you answer your questions at an interview? Right? Because no one teaches you these things in school, but just identifying where you can get these skills. How do you communicate in front of people? How do you dress? Right? So what else on the side? I mean, financial resilience, right? Those are just things that growing up, no one sits you down to just explain and tell you, as a young person, in as much as you're earning 10,000, you should start saving from now. That's how you know how to build yourself up. So just getting these skills on the side, and I hope there's a time where our education curriculum will just have these soft skills, these components in the entire curriculum.
There's a term you're using, and maybe somebody's wondering, now what is this now? What is this soft skill? What is exactly soft skill?
As the name suggests.
Yes.
And I think I've given a couple of examples.
Okay.
Proper communication. How do you carry yourself? I'm just using the simplest of language. How do you carry yourself? How do you do a proper email? Right? You won't get these things in class, but as I said, they're very, very important. And I think if you get it right on these simple side things that you don't get in class, I think it sets you apart. It actually most definitely sets you apart. Things like work ethic, right? And now I know you can't get this until you're at a proper working setup, yeah? And that's why I say just volunteer as much as you can, network as much as you can, keep that number. So in gospel we say just having one person convert to be a Christian, the heavens are happy. So I hope someone will see, I'm 24 years old. I know a lot of people don't see it. I'm a product of a single mother, a very proud product of a single mother. I do not know anyone. I did not know anyone. I did not have the connections people say. So I hope someone can look and say she's gotten to where she has gotten, which is not the end. So if she actually did it without connections, without resources, without financial resources, so can I. I think if someone truly, truly believes that from this conversation, I'd be very, very happy. And I kid you not, it actually happens. It actually happens. You don't have to take any shortcut to actually get there, right?
Wow. So we've really dwelt much on the issue of network, volunteering, taking no shortcut. And perhaps you'd want to add something else to it, because I'm not sure. At 24, I don't know what I was doing with myself. But I know I was somewhere. So, you just brought up the matter of age. And somebody is like saying, yeah, I'm almost heading to 30 and there's nothing. I'm hitting 35, there's nothing. I've been out of college for 2 years, there's nothing. And they're getting to that point where they're like, mbaya. Wacha katambe. So who do you tell that person? Because, I don't want to say you're privileged, but to some extent, yes. At 24, and being a project manager and what have you, it's not everybody, right?
Yeah.
So how do you keep that resilience How do you maintain the stamina despite the odds?
Okay, good question. So, a couple of things really. I am a believer of what you confess is what you possess. Like really, really believe what you confess is what you possess, and God can't be that bad guy. I mean, if you're consistent with whatever it is you're doing, if you're pursuing a particular path, something will definitely come up. Cliche as it sounds, something will definitely come up. But you know very well, I'm very vocal when it comes to expanding opportunities, just from the government side, expanding opportunities for young people. So you do what you can on that other side. Let those of us who are loud and not wanted by the government to just keep making noise so that we can expand these spaces rather, for more young people to actually get in. And that's a clarion call to every person from government or corporate or the private sector. Are you really intentional to mentor young people? So there's an interesting conversation we were having with my friends. And so we were just talking, right? And we discovered a lot of youth serving organizations, a lot of youthful ministries don't even have a young person sitting at their board. I mean, are you trying to say that young people are not as skilled, or they do not have the ability to grasp whatever it is that's happening on I'd like to sit on a board, but for you to get to that point, it's the high table. So I think it's just a clarion call to every person watching, every person sitting at a leadership position. Are you intentional to pull upcoming generations to get to where you are, right? Are you intentional to just get people fresh from graduate, or people who have been around for a while, to just get a couple of skills? I think if we're all intentional and deliberate to do that, a lot of our young people will stop feeling that frustrated, right? Because I know there are a lot of very talented, brilliant, sharp, innovative, skilled people who don't have places to go. And I get it. I've been there. I get it, right?
So while the government is not yet acting, what do I do at my own personal level?
Okay. I see where you're going, Collins.
Yeah.
I see where you're going. I will not let Collins pressure me to promising.
What do I do at my personal level?
But what do you do at your personal level?
Yes.
Identify what you can do and what you can do really well.
So these are talents or something?
It can be a talent, and I'm very open to, in fact, I preach for, because we are a creative generation. There are spaces in social media, there are spaces, just identify what you're very passionate or talented or skilled. A skill can be acquired from school or from scratch. Identify whatever it is that you're good at, very, very good at. Sharpen it as much as you can. By sharpen, I mean get more knowledge, right? And we're living at an era where we have so much information. We have anything you want is on Google, right? We have you. So just sharpen, get as much information after you've identified an area or two. So sharpen your skills around that. Do you need to get a professional course, an extra professional course? Do you need just focus and really sharpen? And there's something Oprah says, there's nothing like luck, it's opportunity. Meeting with, is it opportunity?
Meeting a prepared mind.
Meeting a prepared mind, and that moment will most definitely come. So I know there are people who tap into everything, and I fear spreading myself too thin, right? But I feel like if you identify an area, sharpen it, have positive thoughts, have positive energy, network, target whoever you want to target, see how you will get in, but just being very intentional in an area you want to, just grow in. Yeah.
All right, my director is saying we have like 5 minutes. I wonder how time flies. I thought we were just starting, but it's like we should be ending soon. But before we end,
Yep.
what are some of the opportunities that girls have out here, or young ladies have out here?
Okay, opportunity. Okay, that's huge.
Because I'm looking at it from this point,
Yeah.
because maybe there's a young girl who graduated from college, and they don't want sponsors.
Yeah.
They don't want to engage in these immoral acts. But they're like, sioni option. Nimetuma CV, there's no response. You know, and I'm just here, and bills. Maybe they are in Nairobi, they have to pay bills. You have to use fare and what have you. So what are some of the opportunities in regards, maybe how can they use the social media and what have you? What are the specific? Let us now get into the specifics.
Yeah.
In regards to opportunities available.
In regards to opportunities available, first of all, I feel like shouting this: no human is limited. So, no woman is limited. Whichever place, however you want it, whatever it is you put your mind to, you can actually get it. There's no space that is just limited for women, or no space that is just limited for men. However, I'd look at it from two angles. The first one being, can we first try to dissect why it's not been working? You've mentioned CVs. Can we just first try to understand why it's not been working? Maybe you've been doing it the wrong way, right?
Okay.
And there's something employers want. And that's why I'm saying we have a program at Emerging Leaders Foundation to just sharpen some of those skills, right? How do you sit at an interview? What do you say at an interview? Maybe it's just been that is stopping you from getting to where you are. So after we've interrogated that, then we can say, okay, we've solved your problem. But on the other hand, if that has not been happening, which I completely get, stay true to your purpose. I can't iterate this enough. It actually works out. I promise you, it works out. Identify what you want to do, identify your passion, sharpen it, explore, network, volunteer.
Wow. Explore, network, volunteer, identify your purpose. I don't want to add anything, but before I close the show, I want you to look at this camera. This gentleman is called Peter, where Peter is, and just speak to that young girl out there who is like, huyo hapana 24 na ameachieve hizo vitu zote na mimi anze. Just encourage them so that at the end of this show, if they get nothing, they get encouraged. Take it away.
All right. So this is what I have to say. Of course, I am not the SI unit. Collins anaweza kuchurch. Of course, I'm not the SI unit, but I believe I've done a couple of things for myself, which I'm proud, and the fact that I have, without any connections, without any prior financial resources, means that you can, right? And as I've mentioned, let us appreciate delayed gratification. As a young person, as a young woman, delayed gratification, there are lessons you learn along the journey, and shortcuts will never lead to anywhere, right? And lastly, I'll end with this quote. As I told you, I believe in God. So in every chapter in life, God tends to strengthen us before he makes us happy. So just trust the process. It's gonna be okay, baby girl. It's gonna be okay.
Wow, it's gonna be okay. I won't say baby girl, but it's gonna be okay. That's been our time on this show this evening, and we really appreciate you for your continued viewership every other Saturday on NEXTGEN Warriors at Elevate TV, where we are advancing kingdom lifestyle. Please remember to follow us on our social media handles at Elevate TV Kenya on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. When you go to that YouTube page, remember to subscribe and click that button so that the next time this show comes on air, you are reminded to watch live on YouTube. God bless you. See you again next week. That's been our time.